Hello, everybody, and welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerica.
And I'm Lia. Hi.
Hi.
It's summer.
It is summertime. It is hot every day. This is unlike Sweden. I feel a little bit like, where am I? This is not usual for every day to be over 25 degrees.
Yes
31 degrees.
I know, but I find like this. Okay, I'm gonna sprout some Sweden wisdom on you right here. When I was a kid, it was never freaking hot in the summer. The summers were around 22 degrees, but it was always freaking summer. The summer, It was always sunny, and there was like a full proper 3 or 4 weeks of like sunny, but around 20 to 25 degrees maybe.
Okay.
That was summer. But then since I'd say maybe, basically since my kids have been born, so 14 years, there's been like a solid week at least of over 30 every summer, which Swedes are not prepared for or, ready for or know how to cope with or handle in any shape or form.
It hits us out of nowhere, that's why.
We're all dying, and because the weather's so crap here most of the time, like Sweden is striving, Swedish mentality is lagom, which is a nice Swedish word that everyone should know, which basically means just the right amount.
Yeah.
No more, no less, just perfect kind of thing. And our temperature is always, it's been striving for lagom. So I think in a few years we'll have just 10 degrees and rain all year round. Like this is what it's going to be. It's just going to mellow out.
Balancing.
Because, for the last few years we've had 10 degrees and rain on New Year's and Midsummer, which is 6 months apart. So
that's right.
Yeah, I think
frightening.
It's going for lagom all the way around. It's just going to be
frightening for global warming.
Frightening. And rain, like just a whole year round.
This is not going to be good for the future.
But this week of super hot weather that we've been getting every summer, like in Canada, you're going to get a super hot summer, always. So everyone has air conditioning. It's like you have methods of handling the heat. There's pools in every park that you could just go, and there's fans and there's everything. And then, since we've been living here, 7 years or so now? The first year there was a heat wave like this, the fans sold out in all the stores and you couldn't buy one. It was all. And this is the first year we actually bought an air conditioning unit for our house. So we sent our kids off to their grandparents on the West Coast yesterday, actually. So now we have the whole house to ourselves. So we took the air conditioning from my son's room, because that's the hottest room in the house, and actually put it in the lounge. And now we're sitting there going like,
ta-da, freedom! Nice weather.
And cold, and we like it, and it's great. And we should have bought one years ago. But it's hard to justify because it's literally just a week. And then it will go away.
So you're saying that we are looking forward to a very cooler
10 degrees and rain
July.
the rest of the summer.
No.
I kid you not. This is a week. There's also saying, I don't know if you heard it, but it's Swedish summer is the best day of the year. It's the best day of the year. Because it's only usually around one day. One day.
Full day.
Yes, and we are coming up on an exciting week this week. It's Midsummer on Friday, which is the biggest holiday in Sweden. Like, we don't really care about a national day. We were talking about it in my family because my husband was like, why do you celebrate the 6th of June? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, it's got to be an important date. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't think so. And I actually Googled it. And no, it's not an important date. We literally have a national day because we looked at the Norwegians and Danish people and we're like, they have national days and they're celebrating. We should probably grab one too.
There's no historical significance.
No, it's because we have every day in the calendar has names. So there's like name days that you celebrate in Sweden. I mean, you don't really celebrate them, but you can if you want to. But you have name days. And the 6th of June is Gustav, which is a common royal name, which is the only reason why it's the 6th of June. There's like no other reason for it.
That's hilarious. But also, whatever, it's a day off.
Which fell on like a Sunday this year, so
I
no
know,
day
that
off.
That was a downer.
So whatever. So Midsummer is the real holiday, I'd say.
Definitely. It's the biggest.
It's
Christmas
the biggest
and
one.
Midsummer.
You'll eat the same food as Christmas minus the ham, for sure.
Ugh.
But you still do it. It's the same. It's every
gross.
holiday. It's the sill and the potatoes and the sausages and the little meatballs. It's every holiday. But it's also extra special this year because it's my birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday!
So exciting. So Midsummer is coming up. I had a point with this. I just forgot what it was.
What are we doing this?
We were talking about the weather. That's it. Because Midsummer tradition is that it will need to rain at least 3 times during the evening, so you will need to carry your food in And
in and out,
and in and out. And it's not actually midsummer unless it's raining at least a little bit, so you get to carry your food.
Well, it's going to, because we looked at the weather report and it said rain 50%. So it's like hilarious. Of course it's going to 50% rain, which means that it's going to rain a little bit here and then stop, and a little bit there and then stop.
So we all get
it's going to be 23 degrees. So 23 is actually warm for midsummer.
Yeah, no, but because it was 10 degrees and rain last year. But it's not midsummer unless you get the exercise of trying to carry all the food in from the rain and then back out again, because it will stop as soon as your food is inside. The rain will stop and you will then need to bring it back out, because you have to sit outside on midsummer if you can.
Have to. Yeah. It doesn't matter how cold or rainy it is. 2 summers ago, it was windy, like massive windstorm, and we had everyone at our house and the plates were flying everywhere and the kids were chasing after their meatballs. It was actually hilarious. So midsummer, the day we work for food outside.
Of course. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah, and to make it extra, it's also my birthday, so that would be fun too. Which means the cake will mean something. Even though you always eat cake for midsummer. That's true. There's
a real purpose this year.
It's a real purpose.
Yay.
Yes.
So what have you been reading this week?
Well, this week I have been all about Addie LaRue.
I know. Plus, it was a long-ass book.
Oh, yes.
So it is so good. I've been telling everybody about it. Actually, I think this is maybe my favorite book that we've read for our podcast.
By far my favorite book read for the podcast, for sure.
And I was saying to my husband today, I'm going to go meet Lia before we do some yoga. And he was like, oh, but you talked about this book for an hour last night to our neighbors. How are you going to keep this podcast under 30 minutes? And I was like, ugh.
It's going to be a struggle. I think we can't do it, but we will try. We will try. So yeah, Addie, I've been reading Addie.
Yeah.
And what else have I been reading? I feel like I've been reading other stuff, but I can't remember. The next book we're going to read, but we can talk about that later. And then I finished Pirate Queen, the daughter of the Siren Queen.
It was good, right?
It was good. Yeah. It was a good conclusion to the series. Like I liked it. That's what I read since the last time, because I read so many books.
That last week.
But then I got I had work too, which is really cramping my reading style here. And activities, and it was my kid's birthday last week, and we had to go to Gröna Lund, which was fun. I went on the most horrible roller coaster in my freaking life. I've never, ever again.
Horrible meaning you got sick, or it was like dangerous?
It's called Icarus. Let me tell you about freaking Icarus. And I will advise you to never, ever, ever go on this roller coaster if you can avoid it.
Okay.
It's one of those free fall roller coasters, so it's just like a big tower, and then they just raise you up, and then they just drop you. Which is, they're not great, those roller coasters.
I love them.
But this one has a little twist.
Okay.
So when you get all the way to the top, which is, I kid you not, 80 meters up in the air or something like that. So freaking high, and you feel like you're going for forever when you go, and you're like, you should probably stop now. We're high enough. And then it just keeps going. Then they tilt you, so you're facing the ground.
Yeah.
So you're just hanging in your harness, looking down, and then they drop you.
Have you been to Canada's Wonderland?
No.
Oh, okay.
I hate it.
It's outside of Toronto.
Yeah, no.
And so I have been on exactly this kind of roller coaster my whole life.
Yeah, but when they tilt you and you're facing the ground?
Yeah, at least 6 of them have this stare down. And one of them has a flip, and they stop you in the middle, so you're hanging upside down.
Oh no, I don't like it. I don't like this. And I was there with my kids and my son's friend, and we were literally sitting there at the top going it was really good to know you guys, and we're gonna die now. My kids are like, Mom, you've been a great mom.
And the engineers are designing this going, everybody's gonna be so freaked out. But it's actually very safe.
No, it did not feel safe. I would never go on that again. I never, ever, ever, in a million years would I ever go. Never. It was absolutely horrible. And then my kids went on, or my son went on another one that was a tilt, where you basically hung in a baby Bjorn, and then they dropped you. So you were tilted and standing up, you had nothing to sit on.
Yeah.
You just kind of... I didn't even want to go on that. I was standing at that point, I was like, nope, no, not happening. Anyways.
This makes me miss roller coasters. I can't wait to go back to Toronto when Canada opens their borders again in 7 million years.
There's Gröna Lund, there's Liseberg, there's options,
Thanks.
There's options.
We should go.
So what did you read this week?
I finished reading, I told you about that intense romance that I was reading that was called American Queen. And then the second book was called American Prince, and the third book is called American King.
Okay.
And actually, there's a big twist at the end, and since we spoil all books in this podcast, I'm going to spoil it. I didn't see this coming. I mean, like, when you piece everything together from the 3 books, you're like, oh, but of course. Like, how did I not put this together kind of thing? And so it makes me a little bit want you to read it to see if you could
I might read
gather all of the continuity. It's actually really well done, I would say.
So I just plug my ear and go la la la?
It's an intense romance, and there's a lot of like XXXXX rated sex. But there's a story to it also. Right. So should I spoil it or are you going to read it?
I might read it. So I'll plug my ears.
Okay, plug your ears.
But then I'm going to edit this. So it's going to be hard.
I will vaguely spoil it.
Okay,
so
vaguely spoil it.
It is set in this time, but there is another timeline, like I could say past life, that comes into play.
Okay.
That sets the entire thing up and sort of like ties it in a nice bow at the end of the book.
Fair enough.
And you're like, oh, you ended up being a really prominent person in a past timeline, and this was like the redo of trying to fix what wasn't able to be fixed back in another time.
All right.
And everything is like true about the past timeline, but in this timeline, of course, it's not true because it's a young, handsome American president, which has never happened.
We all know that they're 80 plus. It's like minimum age requirement to become a president of the United States is 78 years old, preferably halfway senile or narcissistic. Whatever.
So I was listening to that, but then I read Addie, LaRue, and I can't wait for us to talk about it. Let's talk about it right now.
Let's talk about it. I'm going to keep my continuity issues to the end because I found 2.
Okay, you told me, like, I wonder if you're going to pick it up. And I actually picked something up and I wrote it down to say, I wonder if this is the one.
What did you pick up?
I picked up a spelling mistake.
I found spelling stuff too, but it wasn't that I was picking up. The continuity thing were actual continuity things.
Okay, this was like, was supposed to say discussing and said disgusting.
Yeah. Oh.
And I thought, oh, I wonder if this changes the context of the sentence.
No, the continuity things that I picked up on. Okay, let's start with Lia's continuity corner. Yeah. In the early pages of the book, or it's not very early, but it says that Addie has nightmares. And then around 40 pages later, it says she never dreams because then and it's a mercy because otherwise she would only have nightmares. I'm like, but she already had nightmares.
Okay.
So she doesn't dream, but she had nightmares. And she doesn't dream because she would have nightmares. Continuity thing. It doesn't work. And another one is in Paris, or whatever the city she's in, when the first time she kind of makes a little nest for herself, she boards up the floor and she makes a new entrance through a window and she has this little room that's only for hers. And there's other like homeless people or whatever sleeping downstairs, but they haven't found the way up because she boarded up the thing. But later it says on many, many, many places that she cannot actually build something. She cannot board things up. She cannot even stack stones on each other because she cannot leave a trace. Right. So how was she able to board up the floor and make a new entrance through the window if she cannot do these things?
Okay.
These are my continuity things.
All right.
Yeah. And then I'm going to just drop all of them because they didn't really matter. They took me out of it a little bit, but I loved this book. Like, loved it. So good. I've been talking about it nonstop. In my house, everyone is sick of this book. They haven't even read it.
No way!
But I love it so much. I love that Lucien, the darkness, she names him, she gives him the face, and I love that when he appears for other people, like Henry and all of them, he still has the face and the body that she gave him. So he is hers, very much so.
Exactly. So let's super summary so people can understand when we're picking out our favorite parts, what the actual whole story is about. And I didn't write down like such a brief one, but basically Addie LaRue is a person who exists born in 1692. I want to say somewhere around 1690 something. Eventually, she gets bored with her life and makes a deal with the devil, or what she calls the devil. And that deal is that she's going to live forever and be bound to nothing. But the deal, of course, turns sideways on her a little bit, meaning no one now will remember her. So she is complete freedom of doing whatever she wants, but then she will never be able to make a difference and never be able to actually make an impact or relationship.
She can't leave a mark.
She can't cook food.
She can't pick up a pen and draw something. She can't leave footprints. And if she breaks something, it will mend itself. Like, she will leave no mark. And these are all the rules that the darkness just kind of builds for her to set her up. Because in this, he wants her soul. So he wants her to be miserable, because this deal is for until she's done with it. He can have her soul when she is done with it. Yeah. So he tries to make her existence so miserable that she will be done with her soul fast, so then he can take it.
Exactly. And so he comes back into her life many, many times over the years until we get to 2014 and she meets Henry. Henry ends up being a guy who also made a deal with that same darkness devil, and his was to be loved, if only for 1 year.
Yeah.
Or to be seen, loved.
Or to be loved, to be enough.
Enough.
He wants to be enough.
So
he wants to be what people
their
want.
story is a love story, I would say.
It is. And I wrote down, like,
a love
I'm
triangle.
not sure
also.
if this is a love story for Henry or if it's a love story for Addie and Luke.
Yeah.
Because in a way it's both.
No, of course.
The darkness to begin with, I believe that he doesn't really, I mean, she's just another soul in a way. And he is being reckless when he makes this deal with her because he doesn't do the time constraint, which I think he and she says it, he's more careful with his deals after hers. Like, he would never give, like, that freedom of time. Because she basically, I guess he never met anyone who was as stubborn as her and as tenacious and who's so fiercely wanting to live even when it's so difficult and no one remembers her and her life is really shit there for a bit. Like, it's not a good life, and
but she has a lot of willpower. Like,
she does. She does a lot out of spite too. Like, she spites him. Like, she does not. She's super competitive.
She's really competitive, doesn't trust him, and like as soon as they made the deal and she realized what had come of the deal, she has decided she hates him now forever. And now she's never going to trust him and pretty much go against or try to trick him at every turn.
But I found that Luke, if he would have handled her differently in the early years, they would have probably found a very nice love story. But because he screws her over and tries to push her down and tries to make her surrender, he will basically doom any love story they have. And it's even at the end, and I mean, this is a massive spoiler alert, because she does end up with Luke in the end. Yeah. But she's cleverly wording her deal with him, where it's like, as long as you want me by your side, and she's basically just going to make his life so miserable that he's going to just set her free again.
Exactly.
And she's kind of, I'm guessing she wants to go back to Henry at that point, or, you know, try to live again without him. Yeah. But it's very it's kind of like he shot himself in the foot. Look, it's just like,
but he's a god and he doesn't really understand humanity or like personality or emotions. Like, he just basically does his job, which is a shitty job also. Reminded me a little bit of Bargainer, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. That and those Hades and Persephone, very much like granting people's wishes. Like,
exactly.
And very much when they went in and he had all the bars and the speakeasies and stuff, I had very much of the Hades and Persephone stories, like the nightclub and the humans seeking him out, wanting to. But I mean, Addie is so clever because she learns how to leave her mark by inspiring, by being like the muse to all of these artists.
And how beautiful of a story did that like depict in a time, because then you see that she has really met and inspired a lot of famous, that we know, famous artists and musicians and poets, and the list goes on, all because of her influence in their lives, but they don't know her. No. So it's almost like this like quiet little voice in your head that gives you inspiration of, oh, but this is an idea that came to my mind, but not really. That idea is not from your mind. It is from Addie.
It's from the muse. It's from Addie, And the way that Henry writes a story, and it turns out that the book we're reading is basically the story that she told Henry, where he I guess he puts it when he finishes the manuscript, where he puts in his parts about him.
Yeah.
Where it's not, when she doesn't know, like those parts, Henry's chapters, because they're very much written like she doesn't know what goes on in his, and it's kind of like his addition to it. I really liked it. It was beautiful.
So let's talk a little bit about the like actual, okay, so the relationship. I wanted to say first and foremost how much I appreciated the sexual fluidity.
Yeah, I mean, on to Pride Month, everyone was bisexual. It was fantastic.
Everyone was
I
bisexual.
loved it.
And not even said bisexual.
No, it was just the way it was. It was just the way it was.
I loved this guy, and then I loved this girl, and then I loved this girl, and I loved this guy. And also the like non-jealousy aspect that came from that also. There wasn't like, oh, well, he sleeps with men, I'm not going to be enough for him. Or like...
But it was a little bit of that with Robbie. Like
Robbie was jealous.
Henry's relationship with Robbie ended when Robbie was done with him, but it was a lot of resentment because Henry was bisexual and not gay. That Robbie felt he couldn't trust him because he could be taken by anyone. I think that was very much the message with Henry and Robbie.
Robbie was definitely a jealous guy.
Yes.
But when it comes with Addie's relationships with Henry and Luke, there wasn't a lot of jealousy between that, and Luke really let Henry and her love each other also.
Yeah, because he knew it would end.
Yeah.
Because he was setting her up to hurt so much that she would run back to him. I mean, for him it was just a game, and it's like, I highlighted so much of this book. Like, I would have highlighted the whole freaking book.
I wrote so many
hard.
notes and highlighted everything. I was like, wait, Lia, there's love triangle. Oh, wait, there's more than one love triangle. I wrote Luke, Addie, Henry, Robbie, Addie, Sam, Henry. Is it going to continue?
There's just ways in this book, like the time always ends a second before you're ready. That life is the minutes you want minus one. It was just like, there was so many of these things where I was like, yes, of course this is the way it is. And how Addie, in the end, she wasn't sure if it was love with Henry. I mean, it was when they were together, but when she first met him, because it was just the fact that he remembered her, and like he ended the book with "I remember you," and it was all she wanted was to be remembered after so long of being forgotten.
Right. But since Addie lived for centuries, she changed. Luke keeps saying to her, "You're not human anymore. Stop thinking that you're human." And it took her 300 years to realize that she's not actually human anymore, and the way she's living her life is very much like a god, with playing games and tricks and musing and all of that kind of stuff. So at the very end, she realizes that she's a god. Well, she is not a god herself, but she is a kind of goddess, I suppose you could say. And I said, I had written down that it reminds me exactly how all the gods are depicted. That they live for so long, that their lives are so mundane if they don't play tricks, if they don't play games, if they don't have relationships all over.
And how they go in and inspire people. Yeah. And they bring out like the art and the music. It was very much what she was doing. And like I also highlighted the look when he talks to her, and it's like the first time you saw an opera, like the wonder in your eyes at the sight of something new. I knew then I'd never win, but he still keeps playing. Like he still keeps trying to best her. He still keeps trying to get her to surrender to him. I don't know. It's like, it was beautiful, this book. Absolutely beautiful. And
the kiss in the rain. Oh, could you just see that movie moment?
I could.
Where she kisses Henry in the rain. I think I was like a tiny bit teary about it. Like so
and I
beautiful.
Felt when it turns out it's only a year, he still is for. I was like, this book's going to break my heart.
I know, you wrote that to me and I was like,
this
oh
book
no.
might break my heart. Like it might. I was so sad.
When she says that she wants to be a tree, and I was like, what? Like, how profound was that, to grow wild and deep and belong to no one but the earth below and the sky above. I was like,
I mean, so much.
Nothing will ever be written better than this.
No, for sure. And then it's just the things like how what we want is not actually what we need. Like Henry wants to be loved, but then the cloud in people's eyes and the way they see him, and it's not actually him that they want. It's just like, you can't make people love you. Like, you have to just find the people that are for you kind of thing, that love you for who you are, and you can't force this. It was so many, like, it got so deep and profound
So
in some places, and just what is life, and what is important, and what is being remembered, and what is leaving your mark, and how can you affect. It was so much.
I can't find my note here, but they had mentioned something about if you want to ask how it is to be immortal, you can just ask how it is to live a second, because everything like in life is all about the seconds in which we are present in. And I was like, well, that's profound.
It is. And I love that it was so cleverly written, like the dialogue and stuff, when she meets Henry the second time and she tries to pull off like the whole like, oh, my friend gave me this book, and he's like, dude, don't, stop. I remember you, like you were here yesterday. And then he says something like, I want to see you again. And she answers not with, I want to see you again too. She says, I want you to see me again too.
Yes.
And I was like, of course you would answer.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Why is this so perfect?
But should I say that Scribe book jailed me while I was reading this book, and I was
Scribe.
so mad. So Scribe, I am mad at you. Nix, not telling anybody about Scribed anymore, because I was 200 pages in and is really getting into the story, and you book jailed me for a week, which is not even possible for us to continue to record this podcast if I can't even read the book for a week. But I was so happy to have purchased it, so now I have it in my iBooks forever and ever.
Yes,
and
you can read it again and again and again.
I can read it. I think I will read this book again.
I think I will read it again too,
right?
For sure. Absolutely. I love this book.
I love this book.
Love this.
Favorite book of the podcast.
Quickly, people, if you didn't read along with us, quick, go and read it.
And
it doesn't even matter that we spoil the story, because it's so beautiful and there's so many things that we've left out that it doesn't matter.
No.
But then we moved on to our second book, and it turns out that the main freaking character is also Lucian called Luke. I was like, what is this? How does this even happen? It's a theme, I guess.
Right. So we're finished with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E Schwab.
Yeah, and she writes a lot of books, and she writes both under V.E and under Victoria. And her Victoria Schwab is her YA books, and her V.E Schwab is her more adult books that she writes. So I may have talked so much about this that I do believe there are some of her books coming to me for my birthday.
Yay!
And I have a strict ban on not purchasing any books before Friday on me right now. So we'll see how that's going to work out. Make no promises. This is a hard one for me. But yeah, so you should definitely check her out. I will be checking out more of her books after Friday, when I can freely roam,
right?
to find books again, and I will be reading more of her books, because I was very, very happy with this book. It was great,
amazing book. So yes. Our next one that we're coming up to for the book of the week is for Pride Month.
Yeah.
And it's called Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. We're actually listening to this book, and I love this narrator.
Oh, me too.
There are so many of my notes where I'm like, love the narrator. Wow, this accent is good. Wow, his voice in this character is good. His French was flawless, and his pretend to be bad at French was also flawless. And I was just impressed with this narrator, like, beyond. And I don't know if you guys have heard me before, but I complain a lot about narrators.
So let's judge this book by its cover. So the book is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, and it's very British, this cover. So very British.
Right? That's the first thing I see is the British flag.
It's got the double-decker bus, it's got the tea and the teacup, it's got the Big Ben, it's got the Tower Bridge, not the London Bridge. That's not the fancy one. The fancy one is Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge,
know this.
yeah.
It's got the London Eye. It's got an umbrella, which we all know. I've lived in London. You need it.
You need it.
Oh my god, yes, you need it. And it's got the Union Jack. And then on the cover, we also have our main guy, Luke, who has his stylishly ripped jeans and his t-shirt. And then we have the boyfriend material there. I'm going to go ahead and assume the one in the suit.
Male interest.
The male. Well, the boyfriend material.
Boyfriend material.
Yeah. As the book. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just say that clearly this book is going to be about love in London.
Love in London.
Love in London. That's just judging it by the cover. And then I realized that we say we judge a book by its cover, which we just guess what it's about. But I think we should add a thing to this. Just seeing this cover, would you read it? If you were in a bookstore and you saw this cover, would you pick it up? I think this should be a new part of it.
I would definitely pick this up. I mean, the title, Boyfriend Material, stands out in the middle, and I would be like, boyfriend what? Huh? And then I would look at it, and then I would pick it up. Especially because that top right-hand guy looks also hot.
Yeah, agreed. I would pick it up too. So, we have read... I'm listening to this in Storytel. I'm guessing you do too.
Yeah.
And when I went in to check out chapters, it says this book has no chapters.
But later on, I heard it say chapter 12, and I was like,
chapters in it, but I skipped over that when I was listening. Okay. So we listened to about an hour and a half of it, and then did the prediction.
Yes. And this main character, his name is Luc, or Lucien. And he's an estranged child of a messy rock star, and he is messy himself and is in the tabloids because of it. He works for a charity who wants him to be a better socialite and says he's the bad kind of gay. So he is told to fix his reputation by getting a good boyfriend.
Yes. So this charity that he works for is the protection and preservation of dung beetles, which is kind of funny. Luke is 28 years old. His mom was also famous. And his mom and dad had like a famous relationship, like a very stormy relationship in the 80s sometime.
Yeah.
Which resulted in little Luke. And he really, his mom is half Irish, half French, and she speaks with a very French accent.
Right.
He lives in London. And he has issues in the dating department. He had a long-term relationship with someone called Miles. We don't really know much about him.
No.
And he has a big group of friends, all of them gay or bisexual, except for Bridget, who's the token straight friend.
Yeah. I love that there's, instead of the token gay friend, it's the token straight friend.
Yeah. And he's about to lose his job if his image doesn't rehabilitate, because he was out at a costume party, and when he was leaving that costume party, he wasn't even drunk at that point or anything. He tripped and fell. And this was captured by the tabloid, which branded it as him being on a drug-fueled fetish night out, which is not working very well for the wealthy, dung beetle-preserving people that give money to his charity. So they all want him to be the good kind of gay. And then... Bridget decides that he needs a boyfriend, and it's not really, it's one of his co-worker
says you need to get
a fake boyfriend to rehabilitate. So he asks his friend, and Bridget is like, I know the perfect guy, it's Oliver.
And I love the side note.
Luke is like, I don't like Oliver, I've hit on him before, it didn't go so well.
Yeah, but also he was like, okay, so this is her only other gay friend.
Yes,
like,
only other gay friend.
So it's like, no, wait, I know someone for you because I know a gay guy.
Exactly. And he has hit on Oliver before. Once he was turned down, the second time he was very drunk, and Oliver actually tucked him into bed, and he woke up fully dressed. So he believes that Oliver doesn't like him very much because he has tried to get in his pants a couple of times.
But Oliver is kind of a prude, so...
Oliver is a barrister. He has his life very much together, which Luke very much does not. No. So my prediction is Luke and Oliver will fall in love while faking a relationship. This is my prediction.
Yeah, but obviously this is going to happen. First I wrote, okay, I hate self-deprecating characters a lot. Yes. And we read a couple books in the beginning of our pod life, and all of the characters were like, oh, but why me? And oh, I can't do this. And oh, I'm... And just like that self-deprecating is so blah to me. Yeah. And I wrote also, I understand that everyone, even failed celebrity kids, have the right to be self-deprecating. But it's really annoying. And also, like, you have a good life. Like... Just get some self-confidence, and obviously there needs to be things fixed with your family, but like go to therapy or something like that. You don't need to be 28 and mopey and not even
He's very mopey.
So mopey, right?
Mopey, so far.
And not know how to have a conversation with another guy without being a dick.
No. For sure.
And so I wrote...
And he's very selfish also so far, Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my prediction... is that he starts to date Oliver in pretend, and obviously they will fall in love. Not eye-rolling yet, but I may soon.
Fair
Feels
enough.
cliche rom-com, hoping for a twist. He keeps saying he's going to make a comeback, But from what?
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to have to keep reading to find out.
We got to read it to find out.
Read it to find out.
And this is a 13-hour long book, so let's get those AirPods popping in.
Get this going. But I'm kid-free for the week, so woohoo!
Woo!
I miss you so much, babies. Come back.
It's been one day.
It's been one day.
Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerika Seron and Lia Sanfö. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'd rather be reading the pod at gmail.com. Thanks for listening.